So over the next few days, I'm pretty sure you're going to see a lot of Tony La Russa and some funny edits because yesterday he came out and shoved away Roberto Perez, but no one really cares about that. Everyone's making fun of how he runs. But to that I say, he's almost 80 years old. What's going on, everyone? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another MLB recap. We have so much to talk about today aside from Tony La Russa becoming a meme. And if you want a recap of the trade deadline, I posted a video yesterday. 10 different All-Stars were traded. We have Max Scherzer, Trey Turner, Craig Kimbrell, Javier Baez, Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Jock Peterson, Eduardo Escobar, Jose Barrios, and Joey Gallo. That was the most in trade deadline history. So aside from that, we're going to talk about the highlights. Actually, we have a few lowlights to talk about, including Trevor Story not being happy with the Colorado Rockies. I can only imagine that they told him, hey, we're going to find you a deal. We're going to get you out of here. But instead, the Rockies general management came out and said that a deal didn't come to their table that was good enough to send away Trevor Story. So they're just going to keep him, and he's probably going to walk, and they're going to get draft picks in return. And Trevor Story said that he's confused, and he has nothing good to say about how the situation handled itself. And to me, I'm completely on his side. How do you not trade Trevor Story? I know his value is not at its highest. It's not at the peak, but he's going to walk away for free. So if you're a Rockies fan, please let me know what you think of that in the comment section down below. Also, John Gray, I don't know how they didn't trade him either. They're 450 games out of first place. They're not going to be a playoff team for the next 5 or 6 years, so I don't understand what they're doing. Now, we do have to talk about a few injuries. Breaking news. This one hurts me. It pains my soul. Tyler Glasnow is going to be out for the remainder of the season and a majority of 2022, if not all of 2022, with Tommy John surgery. Now, of course, we saw him pretty much blame Major League Baseball for his injury, the fact that they just suddenly took away the sticky stuff, and now all of a sudden he got injured because his arm was not used to throwing without rosin and sunscreen, so he was a little bit apprehensive to not blame Major League Baseball. A lot of people are saying, hey, you chose to cheat and that was your fault and your arm got injured on its own, not Robert Manfred causing you to have Tommy John. So in the comment section down below, are you on the side of Tyler Glasnow, or are you on the other side, which is kind of a very pessimistic mindset, saying, hey, you cheater, you injured yourself, this was your fault? Regardless, I hope that Tyler Glasnow surgery is a success and that he comes back ASAP because he was on pace to win the Cy Young in 2021. Fernando Tatis as well as Jacob deGrom, they both are going to be seeing some time on the IL. Now, we don't know exactly how long for Fernando Tatis, but Jacob deGrom, they are shutting him down for the next 2, maybe even 3 weeks with a setback in his rehab and recovery. Fernando Tatis, let's just talk about the Padres versus the Rockies. Slam Diego happened, but for the Rockies yesterday, Ryan McMahon now has 55 RBIs and 17 home runs along with some insane defense. Now, unfortunately, his insane defense kind of escapes him for a single play, and if he just catches this ball and holds on to it, Fernando Tatis doesn't go to third, and Tatis does not separate his shoulder yet again. Connor Joe hits a home run, and then Brendan Rodgers adds a second 2-run home run for the Rockies, and then you have Manny Machado trying his best to bring San Diego back with 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. Just unfortunately, in my opinion, the Tatis injury kind of sucked out the energy from the stadium, and the Padres, they lost 9-4. Now let's talk about the Mets as well as the Rays games because we focused on Tyler Glasnow and Jacob deGrom. The Mets were facing off against Cincinnati, and Carlos Carrasco was finally making his twin. Why you got to do that, Jonathan India? So India homers on the first pitch that Cookie throws of 2021. Jeff McNeil comes back to tie it up, and Carlos Carrasco, in my opinion, was pretty good. 4 strikeouts, only 1 earned run in 4 innings. He was on a pitch count. Then Jesse Winker comes in clutch with an RBI, and Joey Votto, the 37-year-old phenom, hits a home run for his 7th game in a row. He now has 9 home runs and 15 RBIs over the last 7 games. You have Sonny Gray only allowing 1 earned run on 7 strikeouts in 6 innings. And Jonathan India, he delivers again later on in the game with a 2-run home run. He now has 10 home runs, 42 RBIs, and an almost 120 OPS plus. He is in the conversation to win Rookie of the Year. And then the Rays, they handled business yesterday. Yandy Diaz, he has 7 home runs and almost 40 RBIs with a 115 OPS plus. So he has been very underrated. Wander Franco drives in 2 RBIs right before Mike Zunino and Randy Arozarena goes yard. And then Franco, I just want to show this triple because my guy was moving. He kind of runs a little funny, but it doesn't matter because he absolutely flies. And then he scores on a wild pitch. The Rays offense has been on fire ever since the All-Star break. So Tampa Bay Ray fans are probably feeling pretty good about their chances. The Diamondbacks versus the Dodgers, the only walk-off victory from yesterday. Josh Van Meter drives in 2, and then CT3. Chris Taylor, he answers back later on in the game with the home run, and Zach Gallen finally turns in a pretty good performance. 6 innings on 8 strikeouts with 2 earned runs allowed. Van Meter and Walker, they make it 5-3, but then guess what happens? Chris Taylor answers again with a 2-run triple, and Albert Pujols ties it up only to allow Asdrubal Cabrera the opportunity to walk it off, which is exactly what he does. Now, luckily for the Dodgers, the Giants and the Padres both lost. We'll talk about the Giants game in just a moment. The Blue Jays versus the Royals. This game almost brought a tear to my eye because this was the first game in Toronto in almost 700 days. Teoscar Hernandez hits a 441-foot moonshot, and then George Springer and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., they team up to make it 3-0. Now, Ross Stripling did allow that home run to Salvador Perez, but he only allowed 2 earned runs in a pretty solid start, and he's been very good over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Bo Bichette almost goes 400 feet the other way, and Brad Hand, now it was an unearned run, but Brad Hand did allow some damage in his debut, and Espino with shades of David Wright. I'm not saying that this play was as good, but he had his back turn and then makes the barehanded catch to end the game as the Jays improve to 4.5 games back of the wild card. They are in competition with the Yankees. Now let's talk about the Yankees. Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo were making their debut. Unfortunately, Gallo went hitless, but Rizzo, he hit this ball back to Chicago. I'm sorry, Cubs fans, for saying that. Jamison Taillon, they call him J-Mo. He goes 5 2/3 shutout innings with 5 strikeouts. And then Anthony Rizzo collects his second base hit of the day, and that sets up Rougned Odor to drive in 2 RBIs. And then Chapman, he has been very good lately. He has really settled down lately and is throwing just as hard as he was to begin the season. He's getting up to 103, 104 miles per hour. That was save number 21, and they improved to 3.5 games back of the wild card, so 1 game ahead of the Toronto Blue Jays. Let me know in the comment section down below who is going to come away with that wild card spot. The Brewers versus the Braves. Now remember, we've talked about how the Braves are 1 game back of 500, but they're allergic to getting to a 500 record, so they're most likely going to lose. And even though Freddie Freeman and Austin Riley, yeah, Milwaukee goes off for 8 unanswered runs in the 3rd and the 4th inning. You have Garcia hitting a 3-run home run. Willie Adames has been an MVP candidate for the Brewers, and then Tyrone Taylor would have had 2 RBIs, but newcomer Adam Duvall, he throws out a runner at home, and then Eduardo Escobar hits a 425-foot bomb in the 9th inning. And Milwaukee, they are now 20 games ahead of 500, so they have the opposite issue of Atlanta. Atlanta falls to 4 games back of first place, and they're 2 games under 500. So we talked about how the Giants lost yesterday, and it came at the hands of Houston after Yuli Gurriel drives in an RBI on a single, and Kyle Tucker, he drives in a run on a base-hit walk, and then Altuve hits home run number 24, and then follows it up with home run number 25 in grand fashion on this grand slam. Carlos Correa knocks in a run on a double in the 8th inning, and Kendall Graveman was special yesterday in his debut. He threw 1 1/3 inning, did not allow a single hit, and struck out 3 out of the 4 hitters that he faced. Then you have Aledmys Diaz hitting a home run, and Ryan Presley, he was actually worse than Graveman. I wonder if they're going to flip-flop. He finishes it off, and Houston is now 8-2 in their last 10 games and almost 6 games ahead of anyone after strengthening that bullpen. The Nationals versus the Cubs, a battle of the rebuilds. You have 21-year-old Luis Garcia. He's very similar to Juan Soto. Not saying that he's going to be Juan Soto 2.0, but I see some similarities. Again, he's 21 years old. Josh Bell goes 430 feet for Paulo Espino, 5 1/3 with 6 strikeouts on 1 earned run. And Yadiel Hernandez comes in clutch with a massive pinch hit double, an RBI double, as Finnegan gets his 2nd save in the last week. So it looks like Daniel Hudson gone and Brad Hand being gone, Finnegan is going to be the save guy going forward. A very embarrassing loss for Philadelphia yesterday. Brian Reynolds makes a nice grab in the 1st and then collects an RBI triple later in the 1st inning as Bryce Harper, all I can say is yikes. He misses a pretty easy, I'm going to put that in quotations because if you've ever played outfield, sometimes catching a ball that is 500 feet up in the air is not the easiest thing in the world, but when you're a professional outfielder, as much as I love Bryce Harper, you got to catch that. You have Hayes and Polanco making it 5-0, and then Harper does it again. Anyways, Kevin Newman makes it 7-0 for Will Crow, who throws 6 one-hit shutout innings, absolutely dominant yesterday. Cal Gibson and Ian Kennedy, they could not get to Philadelphia any faster as the Phillies, even though they've been roughed up a little bit lately, slightly. They're only 3.5 games back of first place, so we shall see how that ends up. I'm going to talk about the Orioles and the Tigers because I'm going to keep it real with you guys. Quick pitch, I watch it every now and then. They always show the Orioles or the Tigers last, so we're going to talk about them right now. Pedro Severino goes 442 feet. That was backed up by Ryan Mountcastle and Severino's second home run of the game. And notice the shutout. The other team hasn't scored a single run. Matt Harvey has now gone 18 1/3 consecutive innings without allowing a run after the All-Star break. Miguel Cabrera was robbed by his home ballpark, Comerica Park. He had a 418-foot sacrifice fly. Then you have Dylan Tate and Sussler combining to not allow a single hit in the final innings. And there you go. The Orioles win 4-3. The Mariners versus the Rangers. You have Dylan Moore driving in a run on a bases-loaded walk, and Mitch Haniger only gets 1 RBI, but 2 runs do score on an error from Texas. And then Jared Kelenic, his new stance, it might be waking him up. A 3-run home run lefty-lefty with that new stance. I'm hoping that he breaks out of the slump because he has been the worst hitter in baseball ever since he got called up. Adolis Garcia has been in a massive slump, but he hits home run number 23. Then Kyle Seager and Jared Kelenic, they make it 9 total runs as newcomer Diego Castillo pitches a perfect 9th inning, 1-2-3, and Abraham Toro has been really good. So not gonna lie, Jerry DiPoto actually gets a thumbs up for me. Abraham Toro is good. Diego Castillo is nasty. Not bad. This was a crazy game. We have the White Sox versus Cleveland. Franmil Reyes drives in 2 RBIs in the first inning, and then Moncada gets handed a home run on a silver platter. This was Bradley Zimmer's ball. He was calling, I got it, and then Daniel Johnson just runs into him, and the ball flies over the fence for a home run. Goodwin and Garcia, they get the lead back, and Vaughn drives an RBI on a bases-loaded walk as Ryan Tepera was not good in his Chicago White Sox debut. Franmil now has a 147 OPS and 20 home runs, but luckily Jose Ruiz is really good and saves Ryan Tepera. Tim Anderson drives in an RBI, and the Sox go up 6-4 after Jose Abreu was hit in the head by James Karinchak. James Karinchak was beside himself. You know that was not on purpose, but Tony La Russa came out and pushed away Roberto Perez as Jose Abreu was being held up by trainers, and instead of looking after Jose Abreu, he's yelling at Roberto Perez. I understand defending your team. That was a little bit weird, and I would have thought that he would be, propping up his player as opposed to yelling at the catcher who had nothing to do with the play. But apparently he was upset because Karinchak was wild, and he should not be throwing pitches inside. Either way, Chicago gets the W after Liam Hendricks turned into a psychopath, showing the management that Craig Kimbrell should not be the guy going forward. It's going to be Liam Hendricks, but I don't know about that. The final 2 games from yesterday, we have the Cardinals versus the Twins and the A's versus the Angels. We have Andrelton Simmons driving in an RBI in the second for Minnesota, and Harrison Bader ties it up in the 4th as both starting pitchers were terrific. Griffin Jax for Minnesota goes 5 innings, only 1 earned run, and Wade LeBlanc almost goes 6, allows 1 earned run as Paul Goldschmidt, he knocks in his 1500th career base hit, and Tommy Edman takes advantage. He clears the bases as Nolan Arenado drives in his 62nd RBI later on in the game and has a 126 OPS plus. That is pretty good. And last but not least, Ramon Laureano has shifted from center to right field, and he did that with grace. I give him a lot of props because he has owned center field for Oakland. He makes a great play. Then you have Sandoval walking in a run in the 4th, and that was it from both starting pitchers until the 8th inning. Mr. Captain Jack Mayfield makes a diving stop in the 6th, and Chris Bassett yet again goes 7 shutout innings with 1 walk on 7 strikeouts. And Matt Chapman, even though he has a 792 OPS, he hit his 14th home run, so that's something good to talk about. And the A's have now won 7 straight games against the Angels. The A's are still 5.5 games back of the Astros, but only 2.5 games ahead of the Mariners for the wild card, so they got to keep stacking victories. All right, everyone, well, that does it for today's MLB recap. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did, leave a like and subscribe, and enjoy this day in MLB history.
Little Tony, Carlos Gonzalez, high drive, deep right, touch him all, he's done it! Are you kidding me?